Off the Shelf. I'm your host, Yvonne Wolf. Today, our special guest is children's picture book author Mike Kulik. Mike is the author of Could My Baby Brother Be a Monster? Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Yvonne.
So, what motivated you to write this book?
So I actually came up with the idea for this book 20 years ago.
Oh,
Sad to say. I was just kind of brainstorming, and I thought of like an idea of a baby being compared to like classical monsters, vampires,
Yes.
werewolves, things like that.
yeah.
And I actually had tried to write it and send out manuscripts to publishers back in 2005,
Wow.
and I didn't have the story like exactly where I wanted it, but I just wanted to try anyway, and then try and get it published. Didn't work out. I kind of shelved it.
How interesting. That 20 years ago, you had this idea, right?
20 years ago.
Because babies walk kind of, like a lumbering monster. Maybe they're drooling, right? Is this what you're thinking about, or?
Yeah, I mean, there were some ideas that just kind of just happened. I didn't have to think about it. It just kind of came to me, and that was great. However, the rest of the story didn't just come to me.
Okay.
So I had a few ideas to work with to kind of build from the core, and then just throughout the years, life happened. I had to, get jobs and all that.
Yes.
Eventually, I met my eventual wife and had kids of my own, but I never let it go. Like, I still wanted to get this done, get this published, and even though, and you would know, once you have kids, your time is very limited.
Yes.
But once that happened,
Incredible.
it's like I had, a limited amount of time. If I wanted to get this done, I would have an hour or two every evening. And I would devote my time, that short window, to just churning away at this book, like chipping away at it, right? So I would rewrite, edit, and then just do what I could to see it to the end. Now, when I actually finished it, or I thought I finished it, it still took over a year to get it published.
Yes.
So it was a process, painful, laborious, but I just never let it go. And eventually it got published.
That's a great story. I'm just so surprised because I understand, Mike, that you're an IT supervisor. This is not something you have time to do at work, right?
Yes, no, I
cannot
would
do
not want
this.
my boss to see me writing
Totally.
a children's book at work.
Yeah.
Very different, but I mean, the IT work is very like a certain half of the brain is more towards that, more logical, more,
Yes.
this is what fits together. And then
Problem solving.
exactly.
Yes, yes.
And then having a
Hands-on,
finite
yeah.
answer. With the book, it's all creative. The answers are wherever you find them. You can't go look it up anywhere. You have to think about them, sleep on them. So very, very different in terms of how you do it, how you approach it. But I guess too, it's like when I'm switched on to one facet, it's good. It feels good to switch over to the next one, just do something completely different. So it kind of gave me that variety.
And balance, right?
Yes,
You're,
yes.
You're not getting, from work, let's say, but this is something creative.
It's
and
a different
stimulates your mind.
Right, it's something completely different. So
Yeah.
your mind gets to feel like it's new and
So
exciting.
we have so much to cover on this
Definitely.
topic, but let's say the inspiration of shelving something 20 years ago, right? And then now I guess you live with a baby, or then that's what brought flesh out the book. Is that what happened?
Very much. So I think there's a quote from Mark Twain. It says, "Write what you know." And when I had my two kids, like that was my entire life, day and night. It's like they're there in front of me, and I'm observing them, how they interact with each other, how they interact with mom and dad, what they think, what they imagine, what books we read to them, and all that assisted in getting like the final push to get it done, because I had my ideas before the kids,
Yes.
but once you have everything there, you don't have to think, imagine, like it's all there. You just write what you know and write what you see. So that assisted. That was what I needed to get me over that hurdle and get the book finally published.
So your audience, your intended audience was probably children or parents, or what
Yeah,
were-
so I've done a few events, book signing events where I go and read in front of a crowd, and families, number one. Little kids are very interested. I have seen grandparents and their grandkids read the
Yes.
books to their kids. So very much family oriented and younger kids.
Yeah, very humorous, like insight, right? To see the
Yes.
child like that, a little baby like that.
They like it, yes.
Yes,
Yes.
and so did you have trouble choosing the right words, or is that what took long? Because sometimes I hear children's books, you are very limited to pages and words, word count.
Very much so. I definitely had like a different style, kind of more, I guess, books for adults, books for older kids, and I really had to scale it back. So having my kids and having a plethora of books in their nursery or whatever,
Yes. Oh, yes.
it's like, okay, I'm reading these every night. I'm getting used to the style of them.
You're learning
And
from.
that really assisted in putting together all the words and structuring the sentences for the book eventually.
I see.
A lot of kids' books, like especially for younger kids, they're just a few words, like one sentence per page.
That's right.
And that really didn't help me. But I came across some books that were more, I guess, wordy. Like there's a Charlie Brown book about the Great Pumpkin.
Yes.
And that kind of style and like having like a paragraph per page
Yes.
helped me with the style of my book and how I wanted to write my book.
Description and yes,
Yes,
much more
descriptions
yeah,
and just
narration.
one sentence. Yes,
That's,
yes.
yeah. I guess we, when we don't think about it, but all those books we're reading to our kids make us learn the
I
style,
was
right?
saturated in it, so
Yeah.
it very much helped. Yes.
And you saw how your book was a unique topic, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, I definitely kind of searched the field, I guess you would say, and just kind of Googled names like that book, and nothing really came out that was like that. There were a few things a little similar, but nothing like this. So it encouraged me to, get this done before somebody else thought of it and then had that
Yes.
same idea published.
So how did you contact the same publishers, or what did you do to get this book published?
Yeah, so I guess you would call them a vanity publisher. I tried the traditional route, trying to send manuscripts to, Random House, Penguin, and all that, and usually you get rejection letters or hear nothing back. I tried sending it out to agents, heard nothing back. So I thought, okay, this is never going to get done. I know what I want to do, but having like someone or some company there to help with the illustration, help with the editing, help with the formatting and all that, the marketing, like if I have someone do that, I can get this done. So I found a company and they hooked me up with an illustrator. They gave me like a whole bunch of different portfolios.
Yes.
And back in 2005, when I had this idea, I knew exactly what style I was looking for with illustrations.
Yeah.
So I found like the one that I wanted, and like there were other illustrators who they really like they read the book and they really wanted to illustrate it, but I had the style in mind, and when I was paired with that illustrator, it's like this is what I wanted.
So it's good to have a long incubation period because you
You
knew
definitely
the style you
have
were looking
time
for.
to
Yeah.
think about things. Yes.
So that is really funny, interesting, and so you knew that going with a publisher was the best method for you
It
instead of
just
self-publishing.
at that point after the decades, it's like this is the only route going forward.
Yes. Yeah.
No more thinking about it. Just do it.
So I like the illustration. Yeah. Tell us a little more about how you pick this illustrator or.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, when I first started thinking about this book back in '05, the cover page had always come to me like that, of having, for whatever reason, a little baby kind of teetering on one foot and looking like a swamp creature or
Yes,
the creature
exactly.
from the Black Lagoon. And I wanted that to be, the cover, the theme and everything. And when I was working with our illustrator, like
It just clicked. Or,
it didn't click,
oh,
unfortunately.
it didn't click. Okay.
I tried in words to describe what I was looking for, and she drew something completely different. Actually, the first illustration I told her looked like a dragon with a sinus infection, looked very much unlike this. So I kept trying. Months went by. The company's like, all right, like let's maybe do like a group study on this. And then eventually, like, if we can't figure something out, maybe we need a different illustrator. I didn't want that. This is the illustrator I wanted. So I'm no artist, but eventually I had to sketch what I had in mind, and that took some time, right?
Yeah.
And eventually I sent some sketches. She had reworked some of her art, and eventually we got it to where we wanted to. but it took some months. I think it took like half a year to do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it's very interesting to learn about that because sometimes I've heard from other authors that communicating that to the artist is sometimes the biggest hurdle. Like the artists
Very,
are
very
not
much so.
They can't read minds, right? And then you have
Right.
to tell them what you want. And that's very interesting thing that people generally don't think about behind a picture book. They
Definitely.
appreciate the illustration, but they don't know the kind of work that went behind it.
Definitely not, because initially they gave me a template and they said per page, describe what you want drawn out. And I thought, all right, this should be easy. Here's what I want, and sketch it out, and it should be good. And it just took some time, a lot of back and forth, but
But that's
eventually we got it.
But that's also very unique that you, as an author, saw the cover from years ago. You had this idea of
Yes.
this teetering toddler, and toddlers, they do have that
Yes.
they interrupt you right when you're doing something. They kind of just attack you right
They
when
have
you're
their clumsy toddler antics that they do.
Yes,
Yes.
so it's a very real to me. It captures what a baby does.
Yeah, and then for whatever reason, that was just the picture I had in my mind, and that's what I wanted. And I would have taken as long as I needed to get that drawn out.
Did you have a little sister or brother? Is that
I have two younger brothers. They were both older by the time I thought of this. But initially, I thought of writing it about them and having them as the characters.
yeah?
But it's much easier now with my own kids.
Yes, of course. Yeah, you
having
had the
them at that
perfect
age.
study.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, in this 24 hours of learning what the babies
I
do.
would say 25 hours.
Yeah, that's right. So tell me more about, did you have to edit out, because was it longer? Well, was
yeah.
it shorter than your original story?
Yeah, so
Because editing is always a big part of writing. Nobody.
you would know. I
yeah.
think you have a background in writing
Yes,
as well.
but,
Yeah.
But that's something people want to learn about because how do you edit something that
It's a painful process, and you need to devote hours to it, just solitary. It's not fun, right? You need to sit there, you need to go over your manuscript back and forth. Eventually, you might think, all right, this is good. These sentences, these paragraphs, they work. And then you're reading, and then there's a sentence that just doesn't work. And you just can't figure it out. It's not right, but there's nothing you can do with it. And it just takes time. I've learned that just when you're going over your manuscript, editing it, you read it, you don't like it, you go to sleep, you come back to it the next day, and then everything just clicks.
So do you find that reading aloud, recording yourself, does that help?
I
with the
actually
picture
have,
book?
through Microsoft Word, you have voices that will read the book to you.
Okay.
So I've used that. I've had family read it back to me. I've read it myself, obviously, out loud, whatever it takes. Just different ways, and something, for whatever reason, just clicks, and it's all right, now I understand what I can do with this and how I should change this.
Yes, I think, again, children's books are so melodic, or they have a certain voice and
Most definitely, yes.
um,
Find your voice, and then
music, to it.
that will help push
Yes.
it through.
Even more so than adult books. We need to, because children are learning language as we read to them.
Right.
So they have that function.
Absolutely.
So what have you learned about yourself, Mike, from this experience? Because this sounds like a painful part sometimes, and
Painful,
and
agonizing.
yes, frustrating. and-
So I'm one of those people who I'm not good at getting things done like this. Like in work, I'm good at that in a
Yes.
structured environment with a boss or whatever that
Right.
has
Deadlines
deadlines.
and-
Yes. When I'm my own boss, I'm a horrible boss. I let myself do whatever I want. So something like this, the fact that I could eventually sit down for hours, day after day, and get it done, showed me that I could change and develop this habit or this mindset to actually write and finish a book.
Yeah, I applaud you because during those years of my life when the children were toddlers, I cannot imagine writing a book.
Yeah, and then I mentioned maybe having an hour or two, like in the evenings, to work on this. We put our kids down to bed. They come back out. I'm thirsty. I don't feel good. I heard something. I'm scared. So, I mean, it was very, very challenging. But like I said, any little time, any little snippet of time that I had, I just devoted that time to the book.
Yes, and it's such an inspiration too.
Yes.
So much of our lives are distracted doing things that we
Oh,
don't even know why we spend that time doing.
Especially now in the cell phone age that we're in. It's like it's tough to focus on one thing, but like once you learn it and you know you can do it, it's just repetition. You can keep doing it and you'll eventually get done.
Very rewarding habit.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So talking about rewarding things, when you have done the public reading, how do you feel about that experience when you share the book?
Yeah, I love it. I love to see the reactions from the people in the crowd, both adults and kids. Admittedly, like the night before, like I am kind of nervous, like how's this gonna go? Am I gonna choke up or something and like, miss a word or something? But once it's go time, it's like I love being there in front of the crowds and reading it, and just getting feedback afterwards. And so this wasn't intentional, but there are little characters in the book who are baby monsters, and from the very first reading that I've done, my kids have dressed up as the characters, and they perform as I'm reading the book. Wow! And I didn't teach them anything. They just took the props and ran with it.
Yes.
So like
they are so creative.
They are
imaginative.
And like both of them, like they like being like professorial, like being in front of a crowd and like leading the kids.
Kids are.
So they dress up, they go along with the story and then do the actions, and it's been a big help because like if it's just me, I think it doesn't have the same effect.
Exactly.
If you've got little ones performing, like that's more of a performance show, right? And then one of the last ones that actually at Barnes & Noble on Tule in Skokie, two of the parents asked for the autographs of the kids. So they took crayons, they wrote inside the cover their names and their ages. Yeah. So it's definitely.
They're so small, aren't they?
They're able to write.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, the little one, I think he wrote like a circle or something.
Yes. Yeah.
But no, like to have them involved and to just kind of have that whole, I guess, to have like a group effort like that just makes everything better.
Yes, this is just something I think will be such a wonderful thing to look back on, of course.
Yes.
But you have a tough act to follow when they come to teenage.
I don't even want to think about that.
Well, I do want to ask you what connects you to Glenview, because we talked a little bit before the interview that your kids were at the Kiddie Academy.
Yes, they were at daycare here. Glenview has been very good to me. So they were at the daycare, and I had mentioned that we did a Fall Fest reading last year, I think it was October, that the daycare invited us to. And there was a good group, maybe 50 people. They let us do the reading at the very beginning of their Fall Fest. We had a nice big crowd. Actually sold a few books same day. And I had also learned that one of the teachers there bought my book and she reads it to her class.
Oh, sweet.
And nobody asked her to do it. She just kind of did it on her own when she learned about the book. And like that is everything to me. It means so much to me. So aside from that, I did the library events where you first heard about me.
Yes.
So I was very happy to do that. It was a very different format. I didn't have to read anything. It was more just kind of presenting and talking to folks who passed by about the book, and then getting the book in the library. And then, well, being here today and doing the interview for Glenview TV. So Glenview has been very good to me, and I very much appreciate it.
Yes, and there are so many good choices for childcare. I think that,
Tons.
Yeah, and we have had my kids at the United Methodist preschool.
Okay.
Just very wonderful quality childcare.
Yes, and then there's the Coles Children's Museum that's here.
Yes.
And just various playgrounds, and it's a great place for kids here.
Mike, so did your parents write? I mean, how did you come up with this this motivation to write?
Yeah, so my parents aren't writers, nothing even close. For me, it's just something that I always liked to do, and I was complimented throughout the years that I've been good at it. Even when I was a kid, I was actually featured in this anthology of poetry. I think think back in 5th grade or something like that. So I always liked to do it. I always thought I could do it, professionally. But as time went on, eventually you find a job that pays the bills. So I did that with IT, but I always just kind of stuck with it. Wanted to, still become a writer and kind of, learn and do it. So
we have room for hobbies like this, that feeds our soul, perhaps. And then
yes, I think that's very well said. Like it's a passion, so it's like I need to do like a vocation, something you feel called to do. So even though I didn't have all the time in the world, and now I have the kids and everything, I still wanted to do it. So
and you have a teacher, perhaps. Was there a teacher, perhaps, that also encouraged you?
Yes, various good teachers that I've had throughout the years, grade school, high school, college, but in 8th grade I had a teacher, Miss Ryan was her name, and she was very adamant about learning our grammar, punctuation, all that, kind of maybe over teaching it, but she made sure that we knew this stuff and we were solid with it, and some of those lessons I never forgotten, so I'm very much thankful for that.
So thank you for coming and
thank
sharing
you.
that with us.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you for watching. Join us next time on Off the Shelf.